Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 392. Today is Saturday, November 20th, 2021, and I'm glad you could join me today. It is a beautiful sunny day today, and I have to run some errands, but before I can run those errands, I have to show you stuff. As you do. Because I do not want to run out the clock on making it to the post office in time. So would it be? So it'd be the case I'm participating in a swap. The mailing deadline is before I get back from my trip, so I need to mail it before the trip. As you do. Would it be? And then a decent amount of fun, just because what would it be? Break up my fiber fun on the weekends, so would be sometimes you get to see what I managed to get done before I recorded, and sometimes you get to see what I managed to do after I recorded, as you do. So would it be? And it'd be the case where I've been trying to marshal all of my knitting plans together into something that at least like semi makes sense. Would it be trying to right size the amount of knitting I'm bringing with me, so, or like the right amount of knitting and spinning. That's also a distinct possibility. So what would it be? I'm trying to think about where I left off exactly. So it'd be the case where I concluded that yet another hand-spun Tensfield was going to be a good life decision. But this one isn't staying with me. It's going to be, it's actually going to be a gift. So this is Western Sky Knits Polworth Silk in the Poppy colorway. And nominally, it's supposed to be a fingering weight, but I'm wondering if I ended up having some Polworth poof, because it looked way thicker. This might have been a skein where I should have measured it again. Because, like, this is pretty thick. So I have gotten through one rainbow so far, and I'm actually working on brim right now, so it'd be the case where I'm just knitting it longer until it feels close enough. I was like secretly hoping that I could fit like 3 rainbows on the hat, but I don't think that's actually going to be possible, or it'd have to be sort of long, I think, in order to make that happen. But whatever. It's not like it's a big deal. There's definitely this first main rainbow that pretty strongly declares its rainbowness. And I am just beginning to transition from the purple color into the blue at this point. So Tensfield, Martina Bem. This is my 23rd or 24th of this pattern, but I've been, or would it be? And it'd be the case where I've made 2 modifications. I have changed the increase to be a lifted one instead of a backwards loop cast on. And I have this variation I do where I work in the round for a while after I get the head big enough so that I can actually have like a folded brim on that. Because I think that the pattern does look pretty cute with a folded brim. Maybe this would make sense if you followed the Langfield pattern instead of the Tensfield pattern, but I'm not willing to buy it to find out. I'm just willing to find out from other people who've bought both about the compare and contrast. Oh, whatever. I'm very curious, but I'm not like $5 or $6 curious, you know what I mean? So, would it be? And I feel like I've perfected my fridge emptying, I may need to actually go by the grocery store and pick up a small number of things in order to eat today. Or to be. So I have 1 kiwi and 2 mangoes left to eat. I'm probably going to toss the rest of the onion, but maybe I will end up sauteing that with something. And I think I need a can of coconut milk. I might get some non-perishable things too, depending on my mood. But it was the case where last weekend I sat down to write my grocery list, and like the only thing on my list is broccoli. I think I have something that kind of gets to for broccoli. You know, it's a sorry state of affairs when you just have to go to the grocery store for one thing. So, would it be? So I managed to do a pretty good job in the grand scheme of things. It's more like getting a small amount of other stuff so that I can finish what I have. And then the fridge will be nearly empty of perishable items in preparation for being gone for a couple of weeks. Would it be? So the only thing that I'm not helping with is eggnog. Why did I buy eggnog? The spouse likes it. Sadly, seen no cider this year, so I don't know if this is just something that, because it is not, apples are not really a crop of California bounty, that it just doesn't show up in the grocery store the same way, but whatever. But what would it be? It'd be the case where I'm now like looking at like, okay, I am going to bring my AeroPress so that I can have a uninterrupted stream of delicious coffee, but then it is a question of would it be do I also bring loose leaf tea? Would it be? It was like, you know, like some of that like stupid stuff where you don't necessarily want to buy more of it when you're in an unfamiliar place, but does really enhance your life. So it'd be the case where it's like my whole bean delicious coffee, be like, okay, I'm just gonna grind enough for how long or whatever, for however long I'm going to be gone, and call it a day. That is not what I want to do. Whatever. It's like make sure this increase shows up on the correct side of the marker. So I'll just laugh at myself a little bit, but it'd be the case where there's a decent amount of stuff that needs to happen today. So like getting everything packed, making sure everything that I'm planning on bringing fits okay, and then doing like a pretty thorough house cleaning, because there will be a little bit of company upon the return. So I've gotten this room spiffed up pretty good for returning company, but the rest of the housing that might need slightly more effort than we have applied. And technically speaking, like we have today and tomorrow to do it because we're leaving fairly late, but whatever, we'll make it work. So this hat's going fairly well. It probably isn't actually too much longer before it's done. It's primarily just a matter of what would it be? It will wrap up quickly once I decide the brim is long enough. And then though there will probably be a rainbow and some worth of leftovers at the end, so I'll have to figure out something fun to make with the rainbow. And this is very kidney soft yarn, so I am super pleased. I'm finally getting a chance to work with it, even if it's not really fingering anymore. Whatever. I'll have to figure something out. So I don't know if that is going to be yet another Tensfield or if that's going to be something different. who knows? So, that is that. It's I don't know. It definitely has probably more surface area of knitting than this one, but this one is, there's no doubt that it is fingering weight yarn, so, oh boy, this color looks so wrong, it's really hilarious. So this is my Donner. What would it be? There was definitely a moment where, it was like I was working on it and then I'd realized that I had made it to the right arm dimension on one side and then started to look at the pattern and was like, oh no, I'm not prepared for this nonsense. But I was able to take some days this week in order to get it to the point where, oh, this is, like, this totally looks indistinguishable from blue, right? Like, I hold it against this and all you see is blue, but really it's definitely purple. At least when I'm holding it up, it doesn't look gray. That is definitely an improvement. So Donner is an Elizabeth Daughtry pattern, and she goes by Blue Bee Studios. What would it be? I think I ended up initially hearing about her via like the Knit Girls or something like that. I think they ended up doing a book review at some point for her top-down sweater book. So whatever, it was the case where she has like a couple of features in her designs that she ends up doing for all of her patterns. So one of those is a lateral braid to give a little bit more structure along the back, which you can see is sort of this bigger ridge on here. You can also, or going to be, when I hold it up this way, you can sort of see what's going on. There's an awful lot happening with short rows on this. So like when I had picked the pattern, I had initially assumed that it was going to be more of like a slash neck a la Andrea Maury's Weekender. This is a very shapely, very nice looking neck, all things considered. And now that I'm past the formation of this neck, which also, like, probably one of the most beautiful looking necklines I've ever created. So at some point I will be picking up stitches and doing a little bit of an edge treatment, and that sometime might be surprisingly soon. But it was the case where she was like bragging a little bit on making sure you picked up some of the more raggedy looking stitches, and I'm like I could probably just leave this plain and it would look good. I won't, but it was just like, I don't know, it was the case where as it was going on, like, why in the world am I doing this stupid thing? And then you pin it, you follow the instructions as it's written, and it's like, oh, these finicky instructions are because it will turn out perfect. And like exactly in the way it needs to be in order to look super good. So I was looking forward to the sleeve joining instructions, and like, what? There is a 3-needle bind off. Why in the world is there a stupid 3-needle bind off? And then I was like, there is a reason for everything that's happened so far in this pattern, and that stupid 3-needle bind off is probably the last item on the list with finicky instructions. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And it'll be interesting to see what the results are, and if it ends up solving some underarm problem, or would it be the case, like, does it solve an underarm problem by doing it in this way? Because it's not like it's that many stitches of 3-needle bind off, but it totally broke my understanding of it totally broke my understanding of how you would normally construct a garment. But it'd be that, like, you think about it maybe in another way. It's the case where it's like, all right, we are taking these selvage stitches and removing them from the population. So we shall, whatever. I'm gonna find out. It'll be fine. I will trust the process. It won't be like, I can do this a better way. Nonsense. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that Elizabeth did think about it. But yeah, no. So it'd be the case, and probably what's gonna end up going down is I will get this to the joining in the round. Then, or would it be maybe work a little bit past it at that point? And then I'm going to do the neck treatment, and then I'm going to do the arms, and then I will know that the rest of the yarn can be used for the sweater body until it is long enough to my satisfaction. Slightly more complicated due to whatever recent topography changes upon me. So, so it's probably going to be a little harder to judge right sizing it. It may be the case where I need to like take some measurements of like my weekender, for example, and like hold it up against it and be like, okay, is this as wide as my weekender is? And then if it's similarly wide, then I can just pull measurements on the length of my weekender because I'm pleased with its length and go from there. Or would it be because I'm feeling like trying it on, it may end up being sort of distorted at this point. But who knows, whatever. It's all, or would it be? I probably should like go through and try on a bunch of my sweaters and make sure everything is looking okay. What was it? It's been warm enough that I haven't been wearing my jacket lately, and so it was like, I don't know, it was like a drizzly day, so I decided to wear my jacket. I'm like, my jacket does not button all the way. I can get 2 buttons. No, it's definitely not zipping, but luckily it is neither warm nor cold here, so that's probably not going to be the end of the world. But I did have to laugh at myself a little bit, be like, it definitely emphasizing body changes wearing that jacket. Ooh, I should make sure I bring my rain jacket though. It seems like that's the sort of thing that you bring on the trip because would it be the sort of thing you bring on the trip because you don't want it to rain? I probably should actually check the weather and all of that fun stuff. So as you can tell, I'm slowly distracted by what else needs to happen today, as you do. But let it be. So it'd be the case where it does seem like I have plenty of yarn. There's probably no danger of running short on yarn. I do have to laugh a little bit at how many pieces the yarn is at this moment, but it'll be fine. There might be subtle color changes between front and back, but overall it seems like I'm making a pretty unified fabric. Like, it might just be something where I only notice because or would it be? I'm only noticing because would it be? There's I know exactly where I needed to break yarn, but whatever, such is life. It's pretty subtle, but I can't show you guys because I really shouldn't knit with purple yarn. Always silliness. But it shouldn't be too crazy. Yeah, I don't know whether or not the texture pattern ends up emphasizing if the handspun itself is stripy. It's definitely a pretty subtle stripe if it is there. Maybe when I work the sleeves on a different gauge, that might end up highlighting that a little bit more, figure out if my strategy was effective. I can definitely, would it be the case where it's making me excited for the project that I would like to do next, but there's definitely going to be a lot of logistical hurdles to that particular project. So that is taking my Romney fleece and dyeing some of it and figuring out like what sort of, or would it be figuring out how I want to proportion the colors in order to make it look here. I'll just pop this on. That is not just sorry. Not just a very lovely smooth collar. It's not all the way dropped right now because the needle in the back, while it is long enough for, well, the needle in the back is long enough for knitting it completely flat with the tips on. It's a little short for the length of it with tips off. But you sort of get a rough idea from the front about how everything's going to come together. So right now it seems pretty close to aligned with my t-shirt, so that should be a-okay, I think. I'll probably pull out the weekender and take some measurements though, because the boxy is way wider than the type of drop shoulder sweater I want to make, but the Donner is probably closer in aspect ratio to the weekender at the end. It is it possible this yarn is too softly spun? Maybe. It's definitely, this is definitely very soft yarn. So where it is a mix of merino, Polworth, alpaca, and silk, where the largest of the proportions is Polworth. So shouldn't be too crazy. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. It's always coming together. So I know for a fact that I will be finishing the hat in time for the end of the Fluff to Stuff Spin Along and Knit Along. It is less clear if I will be able to finish this bad boy before the 30th of November, but I will definitely give it a try. Just sort of depends on if it's holding my attention on the airplane and that sort of thing. But would it be? It sounds a little bit like, or would it be when you're thinking about work? Or would it be? It'd be the case where it sounded like from my coworkers that the having all of Thanksgiving, the whole week of Thanksgiving off for vacation was more of like or something that started during COVID, but that people ended up taking it very seriously. So it is a vacation in which people actually don't work at all. I know that sounds pretty terrible. So yesterday was very frantic trying to wrap up stuff and make sure messages were sent so that our partners could keep working while we were not. But Lord it be, it sounds a little bit like maybe Christmas won't be quite as offline. Or just sort of depends on the boundaries you set around them. So my program manager was pretty fierce about their boundaries. So Lord it be, so they're doing like 2.5 weeks off, and it was like they let us know like weeks in advance, like if you wanted anything done, you needed to ask the week before so it could actually be done in time. So I can appreciate that. So it's good to see that behavior modeled, I believe. Whatever. So I'm looking forward to the time off for sure. I did manage to knit most of a sweater last Thanksgiving break when I ended up taking the week off, so it's festive. It's possible. Now, would it be? It'd be the case where you're like, okay, there's a whole freaking sweater. There's probably 1,250 yards of yarn there, like, but it's still the case where it seems like a little bit like exposure to just bring 2 projects with you. So, my skew socks are in the bag, ready to go with all of the stuff they need. Maybe not the instructions on how to, or would it be the instructions for modifying the gusset fit, but I know that exists on the internet. But what I did end up pulling out was another skein of handspun. So this is Hello Yarn. I believe that I think this is actually like Lengthy Fibers Drew. So it's like it's based on a painting of like a woman spinning. And so this is probably as earth tony as you get here. Or would it be? So it'd be the case where this is like all like colors of the natural world, but since there is a significant blue portion of this is acceptable to me. So it has like a chestnut brown, like a golden yellow, a couple different shades of green, but then a decent amount of blue in as well. So there's like a brighter blue and sort of a more frosty sky blue. And so I did this as like a 2-ply fractal. And I've been intending to knit the progression shawl by carrying it around the twist for quite some time. So, like, I bought the pattern a while ago. I was planning on knitting it with a gradient, but then decided to knit a laminaria instead 5 years ago. Instagram or Google Photos reminded me of that today. So, what that means is that I'm going to wind this. It's going to be a fairly straightforward project. PDF is already downloaded into my phone. And we'll just continue this fluff to stuff train. So at this point, I've sort of worked through a decent portion, I think, of sort of my heavier weight hand spun. And that what I have a decent amount of in the handspun stash right now is definitely lace weight. So like the intention is shawls. What was it? Someone had snarkily suggested that that I should make a schlenket with my handspun, but I'm not quite quite that bold at this point. I've definitely, like, I did end up making the aggregate this past year for fluff and stuff, but that was like kismet. Like, those yarns totally needed to be together. That is less so. My lace weight hand spun stash definitely feels a little bit more eclectic to me. And also, we can probably feel free to tease me a little bit more about whatever wildly changing plans. But it was the case. I pulled out my crosswind shawl kit, and I pulled out this, and I asked the spinners what I should do, and they chose handspun, which perhaps isn't surprising. I also wanted to pull out my hedgehog, and so I have a 3-color shawl that I was planning on making out of that. But when I went to go download the pattern, it turned out that I'd only had 1 clue instead of all 3. So, and the designer is off wraps now, so it was a case where I had to email them and be like, "Hey, I've gotten this pattern. Hey, I found this pattern. Here's my username. Here's the pattern. Can you please send it my way?" But I haven't yet heard back from them, so that meant I had to change plans. And then whatever, slightly crazy making that I didn't end up making sure I'd downloaded all the clues before they went off wrap. That's my bad. But I don't know. I guess it'd be the case where I decided it was a mystery knit along in which you could participate for free during the mystery, but then you have to pay for the pattern later. So I could just pay for the pattern too. I think it's a cute pattern. That is an option. But then also maybe just like, it's just like, like slightly awkward because you're like, I have to figure this out. But this does feel really nice. I think this is Rambouillet, I believe. Yeah, no, this feels really nice. So it's gonna be fun. Whatever, have a little bit of fun, winding it up. Would it be if I knit with my? I don't know that I've actually knit with my Hello yarn before. I have a little bit more of it from yarn school. So I'll wind this up, have this ready to go. This will end up being the air project for when I finish the hat. Or would it be, or decide that I don't want to, work on the socks. But it should be good. So this will be bound. It'll end up going, I think, in a pretty compact project bag. It will all pretty easily fit in my bag, so that is definitely a positive. On the making handspun front, I'm still working on the spindle project. I'm still on the first turtle. I'm still on this same ball of fiber from last week, but I did spend a little bit of time spinning on this last night. I have like a little bit of a conundrum because there's definitely, or the position that I need to be in order to spindle spin in this chair is like a little bit too far forward, so there's definitely some complaints from the Nugget about me doing that last night. Like, hey lady, stop squishing me. So yeah. So what would it be? So it'd be the case where, like, it doesn't stop me from like standing and spinning, but I didn't feel like standing yesterday. So but like I'm definitely making progress on my bag of fluff, and I definitely have like unlimited fluff for the trip based on sort of the rate that I've been spinning at. This may be a case where I need to like think about upping my my weekly spinning time maybe to daily spinning time for a while, just to start getting through the project or figure out if I do want to take the other set of fiber and actually get that onto the wheel. It's an interesting possibility. It's really gorgeous. Could totally be done. And I'm just sort of keeping that close to hand for whenever I feel those feelings more strongly again. Like it has been nice to spin. I just have to figure out a better way to make that fit in my life, I suppose. But what might actually happen before I throw that out on the wheel is actually I might be doing some bat spinning. So I'm taking part in the Secret Santa swap. And so very clear instructions about note and 4 ounces of fiber and nothing else. But I ended up making some bats last weekend. Unfortunately, Instagram ate my post, but this has a layer of forest green, and then I created a gradient of sorts on this side, but it turned out to be a good bit more subtle than I think I had initially thought it would be. So this has 4 shades of pink, 2 of yellow, which I think ended up sort of dominating the blend in the grand scheme of things. And then also like a 1/4 ounce of white. So this is what a 1/4 ounce of green looks like. It's sort of transparent on that side. And then sort of this flowery gradient on top. I do not believe that I will be sending this to the swap recipient, but I will be spinning it myself. As you do. So this is one of the 2 ounce bats I made. This is the one that I will be sending to my swappee. And so this one I just straight up made layers. So the 4 shades of pink are sort of going from bright to muted. And then I have the 2 shades of green, the yellow and the white, going from this way. And you can see sort of how the layers came together if you look at the bat this way. So this is going to result in every color in every draft, which is something that I've been discussing with my recipient. They don't know it's me yet, but I bet they will know as soon as the package arrives. But so this is the one that I will be sending to them. And this was the first one that I'd made on the stream. So in this case, I ended up pulling the yellow out. And so we have the 4 shades of pink, white in the very middle, and then I have 2 sections of this sort of lighter green. I know it's a little bit hard to see here, and then the darker green. So this one is the one that I'm actually going to keep for myself. Would it be? Oh, you can maybe see a little bit of the lighter green frosting on the pink there. So I think, this is the one that I'm going to end up keeping because there was some wisdom in how the fiber came together. And this is the one that I'll be sending, and so this one has the less of the lighter green, and then equal portions of every color. So it turned out very fluffy and nice, and depending on what side you have held up, you can see a little bit more of each of the various colors. Some of this just has to do with like the order that I was putting it on the drum carder. So this side looks more, this side I think is the more greeny side, I think, and then this one looks a little bit more pink, just based on how all the layers came together. Oh dear. Definitely having the gentle technology struggles here. No, something where it seems to be freezing a little bit easier. So So these will be going to my recipient. There's just something obnoxiously pink about this side of it that's attractive. And so I'm gonna roll them up and tie them with a bow and set them in little Ziploc bags and then package it. And this all needs to happen before 3 p.m. And then, ooh, this chair does pick up some of the fiber on occasion due to its texture, so hopefully not too much loss there. But bats are best spun fresh immediately after you make them, so I should probably spin the 4 ounces that I have sometime in the near future. as you do. And so I don't know or what it be. I haven't decided yet if I'll pull it through a diz or spin it as strips or something like that. But it should be the case where I'll get or we'll probably end up getting I might Z-strip it to help maintain like the colors. And so it's the case where as I'm pulling it off the drum, I'm sort of doing it in like 1/2-inch chunks across the width of it, so that those little 1/2-inch chunks are a pretty good tear point for making good Z-strip bat. And then that effectively makes it, would it be like a little thing that you can follow in order to maintain a gradient like that. I think this is the first time that I've made across the drum carder gradients, and it was quite a lot of fun. The fiber was from Nest Fiber Studio. It was Rambouillet in the Floret colorway. And then I also got some Superwash Merino in the Calaveras colorway. I think I showed that last week. I think I entered it. I would it be haven't been super duper, or I'm definitely much more lax about my fiber stash than my yarn stash, but that is what happens. So that was fun. Would it be? So now it's just a matter of getting that all packaged up, neat, and ready to go. And then what would it be? That'll be sent on for Christmas fun, and then I'll have to write a quick note. So, what would it be? And it'd be the case where I think buying, and that was like a semi-solid coordinate set, so I had 8 colors of 1 ounce bits of fiber. I then split those into quarters, and then rearranged at least somewhat to shift the colors. But I think, or would it be? It'd be the case where when working with 8 distinct colors that might have, so it'd be the case where if you just keep it one way, you went from being 1/8 to a quarter, and then that starts dominating the mix. So yeah, whatever. Such is life. Alrighty, Dite. We've got our final section of the show, which is the secret baby knits roundup, because reasons. Would it be? And honestly, I have not been super duper secretive. I've just been like a little bit secretive in the grand scheme of things. Because would it be? I figured that back in the summer when I was knitting all of my hope and expectation into having like a happy confirmed baby. That was probably a little bit too early to be like, I'm knitting a baby sweater for some unknown reason. But apparently I've started to care less and less because I've just been openly knitting baby hats. And was only like some white lie to say that this brioche thing was a shawl instead of a blanket, because whatever, such is life. But this is the secret baby knit. What it be? So this was the case where this was being knit actually fairly early on in the grand scheme of things. So this is a baby surprise jacket by Elizabeth Zimmerman that I made by marling 2 strands of fingering weight yarn together. So I started with I think very colorful yarnings and I think like Sock It To Me in a blue color. So really fun to knit this pattern with the self-striping yarn because it doesn't, strictly speaking, look super self-stripey in this sort of aspect ratio. And then I ran out of the very colorful yarnings and then transitioned to some Casbah. So that is a merino cashmere nylon blend. And then when I ran out of the Sock It To Me, I just knit with the Casbah held with itself. Now what's missing from this is I am planning on adding a zipper, but I didn't buy a zipper because I was actually working on another baby surprise jacket, which got lost in the city of San Francisco. So I was knitting a Woolmisa baby surprise jacket with leftovers from my weekender and some other various sorts of projects. But now that yarn is lost and gone forever. There's not too much I can do about it either. So, baby surprise. The back is a little bit longer looking than the front, so you end up getting sort of that cool effect as you're going through this. But what it be? So I was planning on buying 2 zippers for 2 baby surprise jackets, and I'm still maybe getting over to a certain extent the frustration about losing one of them, because I got to this point on the other one. I got all the way to here. So, would it be? But should be cute, should be fun. I figured, or would it be going for, would it be lots of blue, because that is what my stash provides. But then a little bit more of the reddish color, because that ends up being my spouse's favorite. So help with that. So this is really the only piece of like secret on the down low knitting. And then what we have going on here is 3 Tensfield hats in various sizes, all out of hand spun. So would it be? It'd be the case where when I'd finished my fiber optic gradient, I managed to actually get a decent amount of hat knitting done. So this is more like a 1-year size according to Tin Can Knits. And these are definitely a bit more cute than we. These ones are not going to last as long, but I do find to be super duper adorable and cute. I really do like how these guys ended up turning out. This one's fine in its stripiness. It's just much more, it ended up being much more subtle, I think, because I was alternating yarns. And this one ended up turning out pretty yellow because that was sort of like the end of my merino fractal. So I feel pretty comfortable doing hand spun for hats. I feel maybe a little bit less comfortable with doing hand spun for sweaters because I think that'll require more careful washing. But who knows, whatever. It may just mean that I have to wash hand wash more frequently if that's going to end up being the case. So, and then I incorporated some other like hand spun stripes in this one because I was afraid I was going to run out of yarn, but it would have been fun. So these are all going to be baby nugget hats, as you do. And then we'll just show this. Its intended purpose is baby blanket. I might have even accidentally called it blanket on the podcast, but no one called me out on that. So this guy is pretty big. Would it be? So should be good. It is brioche, Omisa DK, easily washable. It has would it be a decent amount of that reddish color my spouse likes, but then also has like teal pops in it as well, so that's how we know it's me. Oh, there's a stitch marker. I'm gonna stick that on my tens field because I need one for my tens field. I don't see. This is how prepared I am. So I've just been leaning up against the chair for the past couple of weeks, but it should be good. Would it be? So I made a pretty decently sized blanket, all things considered. So it should be fun. Used as much of the yarn as I could. There is still some leftovers of this part that's a little bit, you can see that this is redder than what's below it. I did not alternate because I wanted the joy of knitting brioche flat. Because when you knit brioche flat, it's all knits and yarn overs. So what would it be? So, and I think I ended up starting this pretty much immediately after the baby surprise was done. So, and I decided I did not want to do constant secret knitting, so that's why it was billed as a shawl, but was actually a blanket. And then the final thing is actually a gift. So, you know that hilarious thing where what would it be? You end up sharing a piece of information with someone, and then it's like, oh, what would it be? They ask you a question a little bit later. It'd be like, oh, no, that's true. I can't drink right now. So my friend Laura ended up, who was the friend who was living in the area and then moved to Pittsburgh and was the reason why I was visiting the Royal Bee a lot, earlier this summer and fall. Probably mostly just summer at this point. Whatever, it was a very pleasant summer. I highly recommend the backyard of the Royal Bee. It's a fantastic place. So she ended up finding out pretty early. And she was sneakily knitting this in front of me at the Royal Bee. See, we have to be appropriate. So it is a illusion blanket, which you can start to maybe see. See, we have to be, there we go. It's dolphins. Look at the happy dolphins. So you can see some of the, where we have to, so happy dolphin, illusion blanket. She was knitting it in front of me at the Royal Bee. So it has like a pair of dolphins. So like here's a tail, there's a head here. All sorts of happy dolphins. And she knew that. She knows my number. So it was like, oh, I have this bluey teal yarn that would be perfect for Molly. So this was the first knitted gift that I got. I think I flashed it briefly on the podcast when I ended up receiving it. So that was very happy indeed. Would it be? So when I finally announced last week on Ravelry, because I had dispersed the information in the appropriate way, or my boss finally knew. so that ended up being, it was like, Laura, you need to share this with everyone else. Because, whatever, Laura was a Ravelry friend, but before she was a real life friend, so. Yeah, so super duper pleased about that. And this guy is massive. This one is much bigger than mine. And then what will end up probably arriving in, I don't know, probably when my in-laws come. So my mother-in-law is also a knitter, and so I know that she has already finished a hat for the Nugget. So would it be? So I know that will be coming. She didn't quite finish it before she left, but she was working on it while she was visiting in September. And so I'm inclined to believe I will knit one more Nugget hat, which I will end up doing with the leftovers of this yarn. And then I feel like I have a pretty decent supply of hats, so whatever. Who knows? And then I will probably end up thinking about casting on the baby surprise jacket again. Finally contemplate this. My first one I knit sort of went on like ended up being, I think, more of like the thicker end of fingering, but my second one was turning out to be the exact same size, but I think this is okay. I don't want to make a newborn size. I'd rather make a big size and have it look a little funny for a while, being oversized. When I knit a baby surprise jacket with zipper for my niece, because she probably had more knitting than my child will. Whatever. I was very excited to make stuff. Oh, and I have concluded that I can give up possession of my dragon. So Joris the dragon will be going to the Nugget. I did not know when I knit it that it would be going to the Nugget, but I believe now it is only right and good that the OG Blurple Joris go to the Nugget, and any potential future children will have to have a new Joris knit for them, but whatever. We're just getting through this one, guys. We're just getting through this. But yeah, so it'd be the case where I might finally, after I sort of get past the 30th of November and all the hand spun stuff, to contemplate making the additional baby surprise jacket. So I'll just pick another skein of Woolmisa lace and pick through the Woolmisa leftovers, because I feel like there does need to be a Woolmisa sweater. There is a Woolmisa baby blanket, but I think there needs to be a Woolmisa sweater too. And I haven't decided where would it be, and I figure cardigans are just a good choice because then you don't have to pop them over the heads, and I have very little experience on the appropriate head size. So I think I'm also going to have to accept that this episode is going to be slightly longer than an hour, because I was like, quick, finish all the things, and be like, no, that's silly. This can be slightly longer than an hour. So, but I really did pick some colors I really liked for the other ones. I'm like, was coordinating so beautifully. So probably what's gonna happen is I have the mild blue jeans leftovers from my scrim ring, and then I need to pick some other ones to marl with it amongst my Woolmisa scraps. And there was the end. So I have to pick through my Woolmisa scraps and figure out what I think will end up making sense. I also I also have leftovers of M. Colton Polar, and that was actually what I ended up knitting held double for my niece's baby surprise jacket. So that could be a lovely full circle sort of experience. None of the nephews or even the other nieces got inspired. The carnivorous Claire Bear got two. I was just very, very excited to be able to knit for her, and then I realized that I would be nonstop baby knitting, which didn't sound like my jam. I don't know, because you guys know me, like, everything I knit I intend for myself for the most part. There, like, the urge to do gift knitting is not particularly strong. Definitely no Christmas knitting at this point in my life. Do it on my schedule when I feel like it, makes it fun. Could take 5 years for me to get around to it. So whatever. That is story there. I'm not going to bring the stuff to work on it on the trip. Like, if it does turn out that I just go into full on nesting mode after I return, that, like, I'm okay with that. I would say that I don't know whether or not all of the garter knitting that has been happening lately has just been due to would be like like it's just been comfortable. Would be it was definitely some moments, and I don't know. There are certainly days in which working on that sweater is a little saltier than than I feel like I can reasonably handle, but I think it's okay. Should be all right. Or it's quite possible that I'd be like, whatever. Like, it'll be fine. But I don't know, there is comfort in that. I do have to laugh a little bit, because, what was it, when one of my friends on the was like, oh my god, hate the baby surprise jacket, so awkward, so great. And be like, I didn't have the heart to let her know that I've knit 1.5 of them so far. It'll be fine. What it be? And then also just sort of coupled with the reality of like, supposedly they grow very quickly, so just like chill out a little bit. Don't be too worried about it. Yeah, and I'm thinking or would it be? So feel pretty well covered on blankets. Feel like I could knit baby hats forever, but should probably chill out for a little bit. But yeah, no, it seems at this point that the only thing that I haven't necessarily done was there was actually a recommendation that making mitts could be a really good idea. So like prevent like face scratching or something like that. But that should be pretty fast and could be made with Woolmice scraps. So I'll have to figure out whether or not that actually works in my life. I might just make one pair and decide whether or not it is necessary or not. I don't know that I necessarily am gonna end up making socks. We'll see. yeah, I don't know if the other thing that I might end up thinking about, so I've made like a couple of Tensfield hats because that's just sort of been the knitting jag that I've been on, so I don't know whether or not with the rainbow leftovers I do yet another Tensfield or not. I also feel like there needs to be like a little bit more brioche. Maybe. Though that would end up being sort of like one color brioche in the round, so that would be different. Oh well. So that's sort of where I'm at right now, is whatever, roughly planning what else I want to do, understanding there's probably not too much more time left. Like when I get back from the trip, like that's gonna be like 2 months left, and it's not like babies follow strict timetables. I wrote a piece. Apparently their growth follows strict timetables, but how long they decide to stay inside of you baking is whatever. I don't know, the midwife had a discussion with me yesterday about like, this is what contractions feel like, and if you start having them, call us right away. So would it be? And then there was a moment where I was like feeling feelings, and I put my hand there and be like, oh no, this is definitely whatever the nugget's up to. It is not my body rejecting the nugget. Rejecting is too strong a word. Expelling. Alas. So that's sort of going to be the case where would it be in all of the funny, hilarious things that end up happening because of that. So like no cold cuts, any no ready yolk eggs. That's been sad. And apparently no travel when you're 2 months away. So I'm just like squeaking in right under the wire with the trip. So should be good. In terms of plans, would it be? I will be taking the next 2 weekends off. Return again for a Sunday episode, second week of December. So that should be fun. Yeah, because that's what it'll be. Probably, and hopefully there will be lots to show. My wrap up of the Fluffta stuff. Figure out whether or not I resume baby knitting again now that everything is public. Will the Dear Sweet Lovable One get anything from me ever again? Who knows? Will I suddenly feel like knitting socks again more? I don't know. We'll find out how everything shakes out. But yeah, so should be fun. As you do. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely couple of weeks, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.